Silence, stillness is not something you do. It's something you can only be. We, of course, can be still, not move in a physical sense. We can stop talking and say nothing and be silent. I used to need my outer environment to be quiet just to find some peace within. But what I've learned on a deeper conscious level is that this kind of silence I've come to know, I didn't know silence could feel like this. Truly, I did not know silence could feel like this. And like I said, it's not something to do, it's something you can only be. We speak when we stop being at peace with our own thoughts. And sometimes, for me, I was afraid of the truth. That was a weight in me in the silence, if that makes sense, when nothing else was there to distract me from it. And that was my truth at the time. But if you never go quiet, you'll never know. Something in me was afraid of the silence, afraid of my thoughts, because at a certain point I was living through the mind. We've been taught to mistake noise, the amount of things we have going on in our lives, for abundance, the amount of things we do to feel confident. But quiet does not make you powerless. I think that's been a misconception, at least I used to think. I don't know about you, but I used to think that way. But I feel like the purest form of being powerful is stillness, it's silence, because you are full inside without needing anything on the outside. This silence, this stillness I'm talking about, it makes you full. It doesn't crave attention, it doesn't crave noise. Yeah, there was a deep misunderstanding for me of what stillness is, or silence. They even have a practice of just sitting in silence, and nothing wrong. I do it. I practice just coming back to a place and just being still. But the level of silence that I'm speaking of, it's something that you're not doing. You can only be it. And maybe as I go along, it will open up more exactly what I'm referring to. Because it feels like silence is misunderstood in the world, and it would be misunderstood. The world is filled with noise, and we are programmed that noise means living. But silence is not an emptiness. And if you want to refer to it as an emptiness, it's actually a spaciousness more, is the word, just a spaciousness. It is life. And real life breeds in stillness. Real life breeds in silence. I used to speak just to have something to say. Now I choose silence, so I can Listen, hear my soul. You, if someone is speaking and you're speaking back at them at the same time, you will not hear. And sometimes that's the issue when it comes to communication. We both want to speak at the same time. But if you're not silent, you can't hear. Wisdom never shouts. Have you noticed that? Wisdom never shouts. It has nothing to prove. Wisdom is wrapped in understanding. It listens. It waits. It moves in the spaces in between the words. In the silence, you can finally hear what your soul is saying. And the soul speaks, but we have to be present to recognize it and not recognize the mind. Because this world always demands us to be on, to be going, to be moving. And it defines this constant movement as being productive. But what I found is no matter what I'm doing, how much I'm doing, if it's not aligned with my soul, it's going to exhaust me. It's going to make me tired. So without even realizing, I became still. Because it's something you can only be. It's like sleep. You can induce sleep. You can do everything to relax the body, to fall asleep. But if you've ever paid attention, sleep comes. It just comes to us. So that's what I'm talking about as just being the silence. Not really something that you're doing. And like I said before, I was afraid. I was afraid of being still. Not only because of mind activity, but there was this fear there. Because fear had already found its place in me at that time, living through the mind. And when your quiet comes from fear, it's not peace. It's loneliness. It's depression. It's not a choice. It's more of a cage. And maybe it's a choice because of the fear. And it still becomes a cage. Those kinds of experience can shape us without us even noticing. We can develop these patterns that become a cage. And because of that fear, we find ourselves always filling the space. I was at that point in my life, always reaching for distraction, always trying to escape, anything to escape, sitting, anything to escape what my soul was calling me to. That was me. But when you wake up, when you become more conscious of this, the silence I was running from became my sanctuary. It is my sanctuary now. Some of the strongest souls are quiet. One of the best teachers is silence. I did not know silence could feel like this. The joy of being quiet. It's where you come back to yourself. Not that you laugh, it's where you come back to presence, to stillness. It's where you remember. Your body recognizes the quiet in its own way. It releases tension. It softens our minds. Silence is the perfume of peace. Silence doesn't take from you, it restores you. Soul care for me comes in that form. I take care of the form, the body, but soul care for me comes in that form of making time to be quiet. And you'll notice when you find the time to truly just be still, you'll notice how much more conscious of your thoughts you are. You're more conscious of the thoughts. You're not being driven by them so much. You're not being controlled by them. And it's only in this stillness, being the stillness, you recognize this. You see the mind for what it is, not as who you are. Even in nature, silence is instinctive. Some animals, they get very still to protect themselves. There's a deep wisdom in that. There's a time to speak, and there's a time to be still. And if we don't stop speaking, we'll never hear. Silence isn't the end of sound or noise. It's the beginning of understanding. It's the lesson that I've learned in my awakening. I didn't know it before, but I did not know silence could feel like this. It restores my soul. And behind all of that, there's a deep rearranging of what matters, what no longer has a place in our lives. That's why stillness becomes essential on this healing journey. So let the noise fall away until all that is left is you. Don't try to fix. It's not something you do. Don't try to fill. Definitely don't perform. Just be. Just be. The power is in between the words, the silence. And that starts when you go quiet. It really does. Now there's a joy in just being quiet, being still. Not trying to be still in that way, but just being still. Coming back to presence. Nothing to do, just return into presence. Thank you for sitting in and listening to me once again share the meditations of my heart. Thank you. Thank you.